an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. There is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Saturday, June 20th, 2020. My name is Thomas Hunt, and this is the World Crypto Network. The price of Bitcoin is down 1.27%, with a last of 9,269, a high of 9,406, and a low of 9,178. That's $1 for 10,789 Satoshis. Volume is low, but it is a Saturday, with only 1,845 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean long, with 80% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.86%. Half a league onward. All in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the light brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier know. Someone had blundered. Theirs was not to make reply. Theirs was not to reason why. Theirs was but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. Boldly they rode and well into the jaws of death. Into the mouth of hell rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army, while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. They rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered. Honor the charge they made. Honor the light brigade. Noble 600.
Don't mind going into the arena with the pandemic. I don't mind going into the arena with the pandemic and the spikes because that's the beautiful thing about our country. I know that I am fully taking on the risk of possibly encountering, or being exposed to it, but as an American, that's my right.
It doesn't worry me that much because I have my health, so I was never really worried about it in the first place.
If I think everyone just, keep some hand sanitizer around them, a little bit, and do this a little bit right here, I think it'd be all right. And wear the mask.
I don't mind going into the arena with the pandemic and the spikes because
Coronavirus task force officials advised against Trump's Tulsa rally. President plans to hold indoor rally at 19,000-seat arena on Saturday as coronavirus cases are rising in Tulsa. Top public health officials in Donald Trump's coronavirus task force warned the U.S. president about holding a mass public rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma this weekend because of the health risks of the coronavirus. NBC News said that both Dr. Anthony Fauci and Dr. Deborah Bricks had raised concerns about the wisdom of such a large event in the middle of a pandemic that remains undefeated. Both had vocalized concerns internally, but to no avail. Get ready for the Tulsa rally. And now, the Bitcoin news. Paul Tudor Jones to be biggest Bitcoin holder in 2 years, according to Max Kaiser, who also predicted that his $400,000 Bitcoin price prediction will coincide with the collapse of the US dollar. So you might be able to get a hamburger for your $400,000. 11.4 million Bitcoin held as long-term investment, an impressive percentage of Bitcoin. 11.4 million of the 21 total million Bitcoins is held by long-term investors, diminishing the tradable supply to only 20%. So all the traders out there are merely playing with 20% of the Bitcoin, while 80% hold long, likely expecting huge gains. Crypto exchanges and Bitcoin are poised for massive growth by 2030. Why wait that long? 2021 is just next year. Should Bitcoin traders stay bullish if Bitcoin price corrects to 7,700? Doesn't look like it so far, but we'll see. Trump banning Bitcoin would be harder than what Roosevelt did with gold. I'm sure we all recall that Roosevelt banned the private ownership of gold in the United States during the 30s. They went door to door, knocking on your door to collect your gold. They wanted your jewelry. They wanted your gold bars. They wanted everything. The U.S. government held this gold and did not allow the ownership of private gold in the United States until the Richard Nixon era. It would be much harder to do this with Bitcoin. No one knows that your Bitcoin are hidden in a picture. New York Feds. Bitcoin is just another fiat. Claim sparks controversy. If you can't beat 'em, join 'em. The fiat currency producing Federal Reserve is now claiming that Bitcoin is just another fiat. Let's check out the definition of fiat money to find out if they're right. Fiat money, according to Investopedia, is government-issued currency that is not backed by a physical commodity, such as gold or silver, but rather backed by the government that issued it. The value of fiat money is derived from the relationship between supply and demand and the stability of the issuing government, rather than the worth of the commodity's backing, as is the case for commodity money. Most modern paper currencies are fiat currencies, including the US dollar, the euro, and other major global currencies. It doesn't seem, by this definition, that Bitcoin is fiat money. Bitcoin is not issued by a government, and the stability of Bitcoin is not determined by the stability of the issuing government. Remember, the word fiat is a Latin word for let it be done. Usually, when used in monetary terms, this refers to the printing of money. Whenever Congress wants to do something like buy more bombers, Congress fiats the money. They create it by their word and their will. The money is not backed by gold or silver, simply by faith in the U.S. government. So keep your faith. Bitcoin whale transfers $2.2 billion worth of Bitcoin for just $7. That's a great deal. It's likely a Bitcoin exchange moving this around. I personally don't know anyone that has $2.2 billion worth of Bitcoin other than exchanges, but still, $7, that's a great deal. And we have the results of our poll. Should blockchain.info adopt SegWit and offer lower fees for their 50 million Bitcoin wallets? 86% said yes. 173 people voted. Thanks to everybody who voted and supported this poll. will be delivering the results to blockchain.info soon. I hope they'll change their mind and adopt SegWit and the Lightning Network soon. And now, let's see, before we do the news, check out the World Crypto Network store at worldcryptonetwork.store or in the description below this YouTube video. There just might be a picture of one of these great t-shirts that you can buy at the World Crypto Network store. Also, check out the World Crypto Network podcast. It's up to date, including yesterday's episode of the Bitcoin Group. Check it out. It's all the issues of the week discussed by different people, all coming together to form the Bitcoin Group. Check it out on audio podcast on Apple, Spotify, Overwatch, many of the other places where podcasts are heard. And now, here's the news. Hopefully there's not very much news, and we'll have time for exciting pictures from Athens, Greece. That's where I was last year. So hopefully we'll see that. Remember the time that Trump said, "Go after Ethereum"? Me neither, because Ethereum isn't a threat. Ethereum isn't money. True that. Apparently, Binance is such an addictive and dangerous platform that they have now an anti-addiction notice. They will ban you from trading Binance options due to consecutive losing trades, and you will resume in a certain amount of time. So they'll ban you from options trading if you lose too much money. It's pretty bad. As Psychedelic El Barto says, CZ wrecked his users so bad that his conscience kicked in and told him to limit their degeneracy. Whew, that's not a good look. Oklahoma, the place where they're having the rally today, has a rolling average of 3-day coronavirus cases that has spiked upward. Now with almost 300 daily new cases of coronavirus being reported in Oklahoma. What are the odds one of those people goes to the rally and spreads the disease? Hashtag Team Virus. Little known fact, some Bitcoin miners did try to mutate the monetary properties of Bitcoin during the first 50 to 25 Bitcoin halving. You don't hear much about it because the attempt was quickly squashed by the full node network. Vitalik was questioning Bitcoin and forgetting his history. I have breaking news from Louisville. The police officer involved in the shooting death of Breonna Taylor is going to be fired, the Louisville mayor announces. This is more than 90 days after police broke into her house and shot her to death. Robert Reich says the fact that Columbus Day is a federal holiday and Juneteenth is not says a lot about the history that we have sought to glorify and the facts we have sought to ignore. And it's strange because I remember in very early grades, first, second, and third, so on, that we were taught the exact hagiography, right, the history of heroes that you hear about. Columbus was great, George Washington was great, Thomas Jefferson was great. All the founding fathers were great, and it was only later that we learned what they were really up to. Dallas County, Texas is mandating that all employees and customers wear masks in any business or face a $500 fine. That's Texas. That's a red state. Scott Dworkin writes, every state needs to make it illegal not to wear a mask in public. Certainly, if we want to stop the coronavirus, if we don't want to wait for the vaccine and allow thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people to die, yes, we should all wear masks in public. Fuck the virus. Hashtag Team Human. No more virus. Wear a mask. Check out @BitcoinRat on Twitter. He just did a great interview where you can learn more about the Bitcoin Rat project and his Bit World Tour. You may not have known, but the Bitcoin Rat traveled all the way around the world, spreading the word about Bitcoin in many, many photos. And we're out of time on Spreaker. Goodbye to our 15-minute live podcast. Thank you for joining us on YouTube and Twitter and other platforms. Trump was very upset that Anthony Fauci, Dr. Fauci, said that he would not go to a football game. He did not think it was safe. Trump is so upset that he calls Dr. Fauci Tony Fauci. Always first to the insults. Always first to the insults. Check out Reward Portal at rewardportal.com. Nearly 8,000 users have signed up to win Satoshis by taking surveys. Take some surveys at Reward Portal and get a chance to try out the Lightning Network. They're giving away 8,000 Satoshis to their 8,000th user. Sign up at rewardportal.com and support my friend Crypto Raptor. Good stuff from Dan. Colorado has signed SB 217 into law. Colorado becomes one of the first states in the country to end qualified immunity as part of this historic comprehensive police accountability bill. As Scott Heckinger says, it's impossible to overstate how big a deal this is. I'll say it for now. This fancy legal sounding term, qualified immunity, basically makes it impossible for officers to be held liable for even the most egregious civil rights violations. So it leads to more. Way to go, Colorado, getting rid of this bad law and preparing to hold police officers accountable. If you want to kill black people in Colorado now as a police officer, they'll take your money. They'll take your house. They'll take your boat. Police officers might think twice about hurting people in Colorado, thanks to this new law. Customers are continuing to be scammed through Bitcoin ATMs. It's not the Bitcoin ATM that's scamming them or the shop. The shop here even has a big message that says, "You are being scammed. Hang up the phone. Don't send money to these scammers." But just like we learned about in the UK, there are many scammers that will call people up on the phone, tell them they've kidnapped their relatives, tell them they're from the tax office, and walk them through buying the Bitcoin and sending them the Bitcoin while on the phone. Just like a terrorist, they keep you on the phone the whole time. A friend of mine has a Bitcoin ATM at his shop, and he's talked to several freaked out people who wouldn't listen to him. He would tell them, no, you're being scammed. Like, what you're involved in is not real. The government office doesn't accept Bitcoin. These people haven't kidnapped your husband. It's not real. And he would try to tell them this. They would still just endlessly feed their money in the machine. It got so bad, he had to turn off the Bitcoin ATM to get them to leave. He had to unplug it. We even see right here, just from the image, I can read the scam. If you're on the phone, you're being scammed, you're being scammed, you're being scammed, hang up. It's very hard to break through to these people. Even just a few days ago, a friend of mine was all into that Elon Musk scam. He was like, this seems like a good deal. You should send them your Bitcoin. And I was, of course, not sending my Bitcoin to any scam. So check that out. Sad news over at Reuters. Reuters has killed their RSS feeds. This might not mean anything to you, but this is the end of an era. This is the end of access to free data. RSS, really simple syndication, was an incredible invention, mostly invented by Aaron Swartz, who also invented Reddit and was a fantastic human being until they stressed him out too much and stuff happened. But yes, RSS was open and free. You could read web pages without ads, without the form of the web page. Like right here on Twitter, all I really need is the text and the images. I don't need all these buttons and all this stuff on the side. RSS allowed you to do that, and through an amazing program called Google Reader, you could read many web pages quickly, all in the same text format. They wouldn't change web page to web page, graphics and colors and text changing all the time. It was great. You could read news faster. You could track more websites than you read today. But Google killed it because they couldn't figure out how to put ads on it. RSS ruined their advertising business, so they ruined RSS. Google and others killed RSS, and now we read Twitter, which is a dumbed down, much more basic version of RSS. So goodbye to RSS. When a major news agency like Reuters pulls the plug, it's pretty much over. It didn't cost them very much to keep these RSS feeds online, but now that they're gone, they're likely gone forever. Big news from the North Face. The outdoor equipment company is pulling their ads from Facebook after Facebook allowed Trump campaign people to advertise with an inverted pink triangle, a Nazi hate symbol. Facebook has also continued to claim that they are an open and free platform. Therefore, they cannot control the hate that is expressed on their platform, and they're happy to take money from people willing to advertise to these hate groups. Facebook's caught in a tough position. We'll see if they get out of it. Not so sure. Sage Rosenfeld says, these are two no-brainer federal holidays that need to happen, Juneteenth and Election Day. I agree with him. I think we should put them both through at the same time. Just get it done. There's no reason anyone should have to go to work on Election Day. You should have the day free to vote, to think about your vote, to go to political meetings, other things like that. It's a democratic country. We have days off for all kinds of other goofy reasons like presidents' birthdays. Why don't we have a useful day off like Election Day? And while we're at it, we can add Juneteenth. It'll just be a two-pack. You just pass them together, sign the bill, done. Let's get these holidays in there. Kaylee McEnany says that Trump wants a team of rivals like what we saw in the Lincoln administration. That's why whenever he fires someone or whenever he lets anyone go or they resign, he says they're dumb as a rock, overrated, way over their heads, wackos, and incompetent. I remember when Lincoln said that about his administration. I remember all the time Lincoln fired people. Great stuff. He did fire some generals. That's true. But they were shit. He said, bring me a decent general. Oh, they said something. I remember it now. It was a quote about Ulysses S. Grant. And they said, Sir, Mr. Lincoln, Grant drinks whiskey. He consults with whores. He's a dirty man. And Lincoln said to him, he said, get me the kind of whiskey that Grant drinks. It's like something like that. He's like, get me that whiskey. He's like, this must be a good drink because Grant was winning battles for the Union, something that no other general could do. They just continued to lose. So it's great stuff. Barbara Malmet says, causing more death is the president's new brand. That does seem to be the case with this unbelievable Tulsa rally today. I talked about it earlier on. We read the charge of the Light Brigade, where all 600, because of a mistake, because of a blunder, somebody on some map had drawn the wrong line. These 600 men ride straight into cannons. And it's supposed to seem heroic, right? Because battle is all about heroism. Before World War II, before World War I, everyone was always about, being a knight and being in battle and how great it was, the glory that you would bring back to your people, the great glory of battle. But here, with the 600, they just charge straight into the guns. And everyone's looking at them and they're like, why are they doing this? Why are they charging into the guns? What did someone give them a bad order? Did they hear a bad mistake? And, the order was right. They were doing what they were told to do. It was just a bad order, right? It was a mistake, just like right here. These people are all going to this rally, and they're even out there right now. They're outside the rally, lined up already, not wearing masks, exchanging disease next to each other. Fortunately, they're outside right now. But later, they're going to be taken inside through a series of small checkpoints and small hallways where they'll all get shoulder to shoulder, and they'll all get really tight as they go through the lines and the security checks and check your tickets and everything else. And that's when they'll spread the virus. So I've never seen anything like this before. So many people making such a big mistake so obviously and so preventably. It would take hardly any trouble at all to move this to a park. You set up some kind of fence, you set a security perimeter, so on and so forth. You have these people, you check them on the way in for bottles and glass and whatever, and boom, you have this event in the park. I'm not against the event. It's a political event. He has a right to hold a political event. I just think that it's very, 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 very unsafe to have it indoors during this virus. But I guess we're going to see, and then all these people are going to take the virus home to their family and their friends, and they might have traveled from all over, and we'll just see. I don't know. I've never seen anything like it before. Little Las Vegas news for you today. The Circa Las Vegas is topping off. They put the last beam on top. It's a brand new hotel and casino that's going to be in the downtown. So the older neighborhood of Vegas, not the fancy strip, but the downtown. So this is really exciting. There has been a new casino in the downtown, I think, for 20 years, maybe more than that. This is a fantastic artwork. This is Public Figures by Korean artist Do Ho Soo. And you can see it's just a pedestal. There's no statue on top, and the pedestal is being held up by many small statues of what I would assume are kind of common people, normal people. This goes against what we were talking about earlier about hagiobiography and historical biography that worships heroes, right? So much of our history is Napoleon did this. Napoleon started everything, or Alexander the Great did this, or Julius Caesar did this, right? It's one man. But what's great about this artwork and this monument is it shows you the reality of these things. And as a social historian, more of a down to the roots of things rather than starting from the top, this is what I truly believe, and this is what the reality is that many small people start these movements. Many small people fight in those armies. Many small people marched with Martin Luther King, right? We remember King, and he's great, but it's the small people that made it possible. It's the small people that are out marching now, that are out protesting and just doing everything. And not that they're small or anything, but they're just normal people all working together to lift a huge monument or to make some change. It's a very inspiring statue, public art piece. Thanks to hodler.rocks for sending that along on the Twitters. Also, I can't believe this. Angus Johnson writes and quotes a friend James. James says, I will never fully process the fact that Cher made a version of West Side Story where she played all the roles and somehow got it on television. Unbelievable. And you can see here in the video. You look at it and you don't want to believe that it's true. But no, that's definitely Cher in a wig on a green screen playing all the characters in West Side Story. And they filmed it and they put it on TV. It's amazing. I'm not interested in it. I can't believe it exists. It's just such a weird thing. I'd love to play it for you, but we keep losing our ad rights. So, Twitter and Facebook have removed the video that Trump posted where he exploited the two children. The parents of one of the kids got them to take it down. That's where that beautiful video of the two toddlers, they're best friends, they're running down the street, hugging to meet each other, and they recut it so it looks like they're running away from each other. It's a pretty dark and evil thing to do to such a nice video of two children who are good friends. It's very strange. Dr. Fauci says that it's frustrating that Americans are ignoring science amid the coronavirus pandemic, and I feel that. That's definitely frustrating, and it's good of him to express this because at a certain point, you can't just keep repeating wear a mask over and over again. You have to say there's something wrong. There's something broken. People are not wearing a mask. They must not care about protecting each other. Very strange. Apple is closing stores in Florida, South Carolina, and Arizona amid strikes in coronavirus cases. The Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ went down following this news. It turns out that you can't just reopen while the virus is out there. If you reopen while the virus is out there, what happens is all the people who work in your stores get sick, and then they infect all the people that visit your stores. And pretty soon, no one wants to visit your stores or go shopping anymore, and you've just destroyed the economy again, except this time there's going to be more lasting damage. So it was better to stay home and beat the virus than to reopen and spread the virus. Speaking of spreading the virus, 2 employees at the Flamingo Hotel and Casino here in fabulous Las Vegas have tested positive for COVID-19. Once again, the employees get it. They're there all the time. They're breathing all the time. They spread it to other employees. They spread it to people on the floor. And pretty soon, what you remember about your vacation is that you got coronavirus, brought it back to your relatives, and maybe killed some of them. Not fun. They said at Trump's event in Tulsa, previously they had just said they were going to provide hand sanitizer, temperature checks, and masks. But now they've said wearing a mask won't be required. So it won't be required, so it won't be effective. That's right. If everyone wears a mask when you breathe out, if you have the virus, you reduce the spread of the virus by something like 90% by wearing a mask, even a cloth one, even just something to block the coughs. Reduce the spread of the virus by 90%. If no one's wearing masks, everyone is potential to get the virus and to spread the virus. I just can't believe they do this to their own people. Maybe if they were doing this to people they didn't like, maybe if they worked for another country and that other country wanted our country to dissolve into chaos and violence, maybe they'd do this to us. Maybe they'd have this kind of event on purpose. The United States has given up 23,000 new cases of coronavirus in the United States, 4,000 new cases of the coronavirus in the EU. People are saying that his MAGA death rally is really Coronapalooza for Cove idiots, which was trending on Twitter. 20,000 people are going to risk catching the corona germ just for the pleasure of stroking his ego. Sad. That was from the real Donald Trump. Seems legit. Brazil reports 54,000 new cases of coronavirus. That's the biggest daily increase any country has reported since the pandemic began. It's not over, not by a long shot. At the Sahara Hotel and Casino in formerly fabulous Las Vegas, they've closed the Northside Cafe after 3 employees tested positive for COVID-19. There's now only one place to eat in the whole casino, and it's expensive. Meanwhile, it was Friday, and as you know from watching the fantastic TV show West Wing, Friday is Take Out the Trash Day. That's right. If you've got a bad story you want to bury, get it done on Friday. The theory is no one pays attention to the news on the weekends. That's why Preet Bharara, the former U.S. attorney, is wondering, why does a president get rid of his own hand-picked U.S. attorney in SDNY on a Friday night, less than 5 months before the election? Plot thickens. So many firings have happened on Friday nights in the Trump administration, but this one was incredibly unexpected. Jeffrey Berman, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, was forced out of his job. He was asked to resign and refused. There's more story on this. I'm not sure if we have it right now, but we're going to get to it. Basically, it sounds like he was investigating Rudy Giuliani, and he was investigating Epstein. That's right, Epstein, the man who didn't kill himself in jail but was murdered, accused of child molestation and being friends with Bill Clinton, among other things, is now being investigated by Jeffrey Berman. Of course, Epstein was also good friends with Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, so it's likely they want these investigations to stop. Attorney Berman has refused to resign, says the investigations will continue. We expect filings in these cases over Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. They should be working hard to put it permanently on the record in case they do try to remove him faster. It will take them a while to really remove him. They have to push the new nominee through Congress because he's refusing to leave. This is a very active story, and it's just developing right now. So we're getting more information about this all the time. Parker Molloy writes, I really don't understand why the Trump campaign wouldn't just pick an outdoor venue. And it does seem very obvious. Certainly security could be set up, fences could be set up, so on and so forth. But why wouldn't you just have this rally outdoor? Well, it wouldn't accomplish the goal of killing more human beings. If your goal is to spread the coronavirus so there's a continued crisis in this country, a crisis so bad that you have to stop the vote, it's very cynical. It's very dark. Sacrifice your own people to cancel the election so that you could win and not have to pay back those loans to Deutsche Bank. Maybe it's worth it. The AP, the Associated Press, has changed its writing style guide to capitalize the B in the term black when referring to people in racial, ethnic, or cultural context, weighing in on a hotly debated issue. And Ida Bay Wells writes, I remember when I was a young reporter, this was drilled out of me. I could not get copy published with a capital B in black because it wasn't AP style. Black American is an ethnic group, and now it's finally being recognized as such. This is big. It really is. The AP style guide controls how writing is done in newspapers in the United States. So they've made a major change here. This pretty much lines up with what people were telling me in the comments, that it's actually more acceptable now to say black people or black American instead of saying African American. Obviously, I just want to say the right thing and not offend anyone, but that's very difficult these days. But with the AP style guide changing, this really does give official weight to just the term black American or black people. So, cool. A wake-up call for those of you not wearing masks. Demi on Twitter here writes, their cousin checked into the hospital Tuesday morning for body aches and chills. They tested her for COVID-19 and her results came back positive. She died yesterday morning around 4 a.m. of kidney failure. She was 23. Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx both advised Trump against holding his coronavirus rally tomorrow. His own advisors. What a tragedy. As we said before, SDNY attorney Jeffrey Berman responds, I learned in a press release from the Attorney General tonight that I was stepping down as U.S. Attorney. I have not resigned and have no intention of resigning my position. Pretty impressive. Everyone's impressed that he's staying on. He's refusing to leave. He released a statement on the Twitter account as well, meaning that he must still have access to the Twitter account for the U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of New York. He also says, I will not step down until a presidentially appointed nominee is confirmed by the Senate. Until then, our investigations will move forward without delay or interruption. This is not what they wanted when they fired him. When they fired him, they wanted these investigations to stop, but now he says they will move forward without delay or interruption. Once again, it's a really obvious thing to do if you're guilty of something, to fire the people that are investigating you. Really, really obvious. Like, you'd have to be a moron to not figure it out. So think about it some more and think about it. Remember when the SBA wouldn't tell us who took the money for the small business loans? Well, now they're going to disclose the names of most businesses taking the loans. Why most? Why not all? We want all the names. It's our money. We should know where it went. Neera Tandim says, to attempt a Friday night massacre 5 months before an election means there's a pretty big investigation they're trying to kill. It does seem like a major move. It's a lot like in Usual Suspects, where Kaiser Soze comes out of hiding. You don't expect him to go, come out of hiding ever again. It's just that one time comes out. In the last 2 weeks, the Department of Justice has announced the imminent departures of the Solicitor General, the Civil Division Chief, the Criminal Division Chief, and the U.S. Attorney for Manhattan. As Max Fisher says, when you ask scholars of Democratic decline to name the number one red alarm warning sign, this is almost always what they describe. So we are in the red zone here. Democracy may die. The German coronavirus response was successful because it was based on U.S. research that was ignored or dismissed by the U.S. government. Yes, we could have had a better coronavirus response if we had only listened to research produced in the United States. A large portion of Germany's measures that proved effective was based on studies by leading U.S. research institutes, said Karl Lauterbach, a Harvard-educated epidemiologist who's a member of the German parliament for the Social Democrats, who are part of the coalition government. Lauterbach advised the German parliament and government during the pandemic. So we could have done better if only we had listened to our own scientists. I wonder whose scientists we were listening to. Attorney Berman's office is investigating Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. He also charged Jeffrey Epstein, a former Trump friend, with child sex trafficking. And the SDNY was reportedly probing whether or not Deutsche Bank had complied with anti-money laundering and other laws. It's interesting how it always comes back to money laundering. I remember one time this guy was into real estate, and he sold a house that was worth about $300,000 or $500,000. He sold it for $2 million, and I was like, wow, that's a great deal. And a few years later, they sold the house for less, like $500,000 again. You're like, I wonder why they did that. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's how money laundering works. You pay more for something than it's worth, then that person launders the money for you. Oh. Check out the Darth Maul candle on Bitcoinal. The price of Bitcoin simultaneously within the same candle went down to about 9,100 and up to around 9,400, all in the same time period. Exciting stuff. Darth Maul on Bitcoinal.com. George Conway writes, the House of Representatives should immediately commence an impeachment inquiry into the conduct of the Attorney General of the United States. Agree with that. COVID-19 update. Cases are rising and states are facing an onslaught as hospitalizations begin to grow. The month ahead is likely to be filled with terrible loss. It's time to address that, and we might, if only the president would care. They took down the statue of Saint Juniper Sierra in San Francisco, a Catholic missionary. Kind of mixed on this. He was bad to the Native Americans, but missionaries are usually more esteemed figures. But just in general, maybe it's time for no more statues in public. I'll go like the iconoclasts in Dutch. Just clean up things, have some nice, plain, open public spaces that we don't have to get stressed about. Another report from wonderful Las Vegas that I'm so glad that they decided to open early. The Venetian has a rumor of employees and several team members testing positive for COVID-19. So the Flamingo, the Venetian, the Sahara, how many hotels and casinos in Las Vegas are spreading the disease and destroying their reputations and the reputation of the whole town? How bad has and big a problem has public health messaging been during the coronavirus pandemic? Pretty bad and pretty big. Why don't Americans trust the public health experts? Maybe it's because the public health experts don't trust them. And we have a black and white picture here, probably from the 1918 pandemic, when everyone wore masks. There was even laws about wearing masks. You'd get fined if you didn't wear a mask. In 1917, 100 years ago, they knew how to stop pandemics. They wore masks. It's also worth mentioning here that Attorney General Berman is hardly some deep state resistor. He's Rudy Giuliani's former law partner and a campaign donor to the Trump 2016 campaign. Trump and Barr's corruption is so profound, they force allies to this point. And for all the love showered on Anthony Fauci throughout the spring, the failure to push for mask wearing when it might have really mattered may ultimately prove the most catastrophic misstep of the whole American response. They still haven't fessed up and owned up to this. I think likely They made a mistake. They thought that everyone would buy all of the personal protective gear that they already knew they had a shortage of. So for this reason, they didn't tell the American people to wear masks. Even simple cotton masks, simple surgical masks, a bandana around your mouth, a t-shirt repurposed into a mask would have been better than what we did, which was nothing. Nothing helps spread the virus. Wearing a mask stops the virus. So we screwed up badly there. In New Jersey, 12% of nursing home residents died of COVID. As Graham Wood says, to put it another way, during COVID-19, it has been 4 times more dangerous to be in a New Jersey nursing home than it was to be a British soldier sent to the front lines in the First World War. And much like Solzhenitsyn said yesterday about our prisoners, you can tell a lot about a society by the way they treat their prisoners. You can also tell a lot about a society by the way it treats their elderly. And during FDR's time, one of the reasons that the Social Security Administration was founded and Social Security was set up as a program was to prevent old people from dying on the streets. It's hard to believe it now, but without Social Security, without retirement plans for America, we would just, if you didn't have family, if you didn't have someone to take care of you, they would just let you die on the streets. But apparently you'd be safer on the front of the First World War than in a nursing home these days, at least in New Jersey. Check out this magnificent projection on the Robert E. Lee statue in Virginia that obviously needs to go. But still, what a beautiful representation. You can see George Floyd's face broadcast over the base of the statue and BLM on the horse and the rider, as well as the detailed of graffiti that's been left behind on Robert E. Lee, the man who betrayed America, who trained generals at West Point Academy, then left West Point Academy to fight against the very generals he trained, those that he didn't convince to go with him and work against the country that he served. He's a traitor. He's a traitor. Remember in 1973 when Nixon fired his attorney general on Friday night? It was called, or Saturday night, it was called the Saturday Night Massacre. Here's the headline from the New York Times. Nixon discharges Cox for defiance, abolishes Watergate task force. Richardson and Ruckelshaus out. And what happened is after he fired Attorney General Archibald Cox, he then had to fire the next in line, Richardson and Ruckelshaus, before he found someone that would do what he wanted, which turned out to be, it's right on the tip of my tongue. It's that guy that they nominated for the Supreme Court years later. Well, it's like Bear or Boar or something, but he was nominated for Supreme Court later. Beijing has been given jurisdiction of Hong Kong in national security cases as the draft Hong Kong law was revealed. Article 23 that they're going to force through the back door of Hong Kong would indeed give Beijing the right to extradite prisoners. So if you're arrested in Hong Kong, you could be taken to China. This is the end of Hong Kong. It's very sad. A great little Steve Jobs video talking about the problems of monopolies and how companies that become monopolies are taken over by the marketing and the salespeople, and the people who work on products are put to the side. They're saying that Apple should open with it now and pay attention. The situation in Siberia is continuing to get worse as they've broken an all-time heat record with a whopping 38 degrees centigrade, 100.4 Fahrenheit, breaking all records for Siberia since 1885, a major heat wave where there should be ice. They just keep pulling down statues, sometimes randomly. There's a statue of Ulysses S. Grant. They say he was a slave owner before the Civil War, but of course during the Civil War, Grant fought for the Union, won several battles when no one else could, and pretty much won the war, ending slavery. So maybe we shouldn't knock down his statue. Just saying. Historical thing, you know. After he was fired, ex-Watergate Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox said it was now a question of whether ours shall continue a government of laws and not of men. Texas is not a single city outbreak. There are cases of 90% in counties, and worst per capita outbreaks are not in major population centers. We are just barely seeing the full effects of Phase 2, which, according to this scientist, started on May 22nd. Much of the Deep South looks like this. We're just not noticing. So it could get bad and worse for the South, who isn't interested in coronavirus, and the coronavirus doesn't care. It's interested in them, interested in killing them. Vice President Pence cannot say Black Lives Matter. He was asked repeatedly to say Black Lives Matter, and he said all lives matter, dodging and ignoring the issue, downplaying the protesters and everything that's happened over the past 3 weeks. Brazil passes 1 million coronavirus cases with no end in sight. And remember yesterday we talked about AMC movie theaters and how their idiot CEO thought that it was a political thing to wear masks, so he was going to avoid a political fight and not require masks. It's been 24 hours, and he has changed his mind. AMC movie theaters will now require masks because only a moron would go there if they weren't doing that. Even then, risking your life to see a movie, and I love movies, is not a good deal. Your home stereo is fine. You can get a big TV for hardly anything at all. Movie theaters, as much as I liked them in the last century and all that, it's over. It's over for movie theaters. Pretty much over for concerts as well. Remember how they were going to reopen the NBA in Florida? Bad choice. Florida's rising coronavirus cases are complicating the NBA's plans to resume the season in Orlando. That's right. Reopening early, sending your people out to the beaches and the barber shops may just chase away the NBA and end our chance at live sports in America again. In countries with universal mask wearing, per capita coronavirus mortality increased just 5.4% each week, compared to 48% each week in remaining countries. So if you wear a mask, everyone wears a mask, we all wear masks together, only 5.4 mortality. If we don't wear masks, if you don't wear a mask because you don't want to, because it's a rule and you're a big tough guy that doesn't follow rules, 48%, almost 10 times, 48% compared to 5.4. That's ridiculous. It's so obvious. It's like you're just banging your head up against a wall and then your brain falls out. You're like, oh, it's just that obvious. Why won't President Trump, why is he worried about Jeffrey Epstein? Why did he fire this prosecutor? Well, Trump used to be very good friends with Epstein. Let's watch a little of this and learn more.
You know about sexual predators and things like that.
You are one.
All right, say that.
Here's what Donald Trump said about his old friend Jeffrey Epstein in 2002. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. It has even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
Donald Trump is heard making questionable comments about a young girl.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
The woman had filed a lawsuit alleging Trump sexually assaulted her when she was only 13 years old.
I'll go backstage, and everyone's getting dressed. I'm the owner of the pageant, so I sort of get away with things like that.
You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. For the 22nd time, Donald J. Trump has been accused of sexual misconduct.
Kissed me again very aggressively.
He was putting his hand up my skirt.
She would not be my first choice.
I'm very clear on this.
When you're a star, they let you do it.
Touching my private parts.
Grab him by the...
What does he think this is? He pinned you against the wall. It was a fight. She kept the dress.
She's asking for a sample of Trump's DNA for her case.
You know about sexual...
Powerful advertisement linking Trump to Epstein
predators and things like that.
You are one. Maybe that's why he has fired the U.S. attorney for New York, trying to block a potential Epstein case. We do have some good news. Reverend Derek DeWitt, director of a Baltimore nursing facility that's had no coronavirus infections, asked about the moment he realized the coronavirus threat was real. He says, right after President Trump said we had 15 cases and it would soon be down to 0. After he heard this, he required all of his staff to wear PPE gear. He closed down the nursing home. He had no visitors, no ins and out. He kept everyone separate, and he kept everyone alive, all because he didn't trust the president when he said we had 15 cases and it would go to 0. Impressive, counterintuitive, but impressive. We talked about this earlier. The cafe at the Sahara has closed. Sahara, Flamingo, and Venetian, all possibly affected by COVID-19 here in Las Vegas, destroying the tourist economy, ending our good name as a fun place to go. Kentucky is bracing for voting challenges. Aren't we glad that the Supreme Court got rid of the Voting Rights Act? They're cutting the number of polling places for the primary from 3,700 to 200. That's hilarious. Again, Republicans continue to work against the people to try to block them from voting. Vote by mail, universal registration, universal vote by mail. No more polling places, no more nonsense. You just drop it in a blue box anywhere. And cases in the United States continue to rise out of control. Every chart showing up and to the right. We predicted this. We told you this would happen. We looked at the charts and we said, no, this isn't a going down chart. These are going up charts. And they all went up. Hey, we made it to the top of the news. If you think that wearing a mask cuts off your oxygen, just wait till you find out what COVID does. That's from Sam Gahaley, MD. There's a great article here about Winamp, one of the best MP3 players back in the day, and how they joined AOL and got destroyed. They could have been iTunes. Instead, they became nothing. And we did it. We made it to the top of the news. Only a couple more minutes left. Let's see. I have this video to show you. Let's see. Should I play the video or should we watch some pictures? Well, it is Saturday, so I want to break things up and show you guys some pictures. I'm wearing my Athens shirt. You can't quite see it. There you go. Look. I got this last year in Greece. It was pretty impressive. I don't really go places that often. So when I was out back in the old days, when you still could go outside, I went for it. So I was near Greece and I had a chance to go there. So these photos, if you're not interested, it's okay. We're done with the news. This is the hour mark of the show. But I was just going to show you some pictures because it's Saturday and I thought that'd be fun. So I was in Europe. I went to a couple of Bitcoin conferences. And as a side note, at least in the old days, you could travel anywhere you wanted in Europe for like $200 on an airplane. They used to have all these low-cost carriers, and it's not very comfortable or very nice or anything, but it's only a couple hours. It's only $200, and you could go anywhere. So I started looking around, and I said, gosh, I'd really like to go to Athens. I'd like to go to Greece, the cradle of civilization, right? And see that, all the creation of democracy and everything like that. So I rented an Airbnb. It was actually pretty affordable. Athens is pretty cheap, as it turns out. And I went there for about a week or 10 days. So this is exactly a year ago. These photos are from June 19th and June the 20th from Athens, Greece. And I just wanted to share them with you guys and have some fun looking at some old photos. So if you're not interested, that's okay. But if you want to check them out, a year ago, I took a screenshot of the program on my phone. Bitcoin was almost the same price, if you can believe that. So it's been a year and nothing has changed. Here's some grave sites, perhaps cement coffins. I'm not sure. This is the evocation at Katsia Square. So this was just down the street from my Airbnb. This is the National Bank of Greece. How cool is that? Bringing in the Bitcoin things, combining it together. Let's see if I can make these bigger. That's slightly bigger. Make this go away. All right, that's pretty good. That's a little bigger, but this looks fine. So here it is, the National Bank of Greece. And here's a big glass piece they have in the street. They found ruins right there in the street. And they left them in the street. They put these little glass pyramids over them so you can see down into the ruins right there in Athens. Pretty cool, huh? There's me, excited to see some ruins. There's an old dog. Don't worry, people were taking care of this dog. They came by and gave him water. It was pretty hot out on the streets, but you can see there he's actually probably laying on marble. A lot of the sidewalks in Athens were marble. There was just a lot more. Marble's cheap over there, so they just made everything out of marble. It kind of makes it less special than it is now, at least over here. This was a food market I walked through. This is like the Athens General Market. They had all the crazy animal parts and stuff hanging from sticks and stuff, and it smelled kind of bad. I'm not a big meat market guy. That's an upside down picture, but still, you get the idea. Here's ruins. This might have been the library. I'm not sure. A lot of this, I walked by this. I didn't pay to get access, so I didn't go on the tour, but it was still pretty amazing. Just you can walk by. This is Hadrian's Library, so I nailed that one. Later on, I found out I could have bought a package for all of these, and I did buy the package, so I could have gone inside. But you can actually see really well just walking around the outside. You can see the sections here. The white sections are new concrete. The brown, yellowish sections are old pieces of concrete. The same thing they're doing here, they're doing at the Acropolis, and I can show you in better pictures there. I might even accelerate here. But they're using the old pieces, and then they're recreating pieces, so they're combining them together like a jigsaw puzzle. So obviously that's going to take longer. You can see a lot of the broken pieces here on the side. These are likely being computerized and scanned and sorted, and they're going to figure out how to reassemble Hadrian's Library. Here's a guy selling flags. I'm pretty sure I bought that Greek one in the center there. There's also a lot of this Sparta merchandise from the 300. The 300 was apparently a big boon for Greece. And then you can see this little gift shop is right across from Hadrian's Library there. There's me again. This might be another ruin. There, up there, you can see the Acropolis, the rock that it's built on. It was a fortress. It was a temple. It was a church. It was a mosque. It's an interesting building. It was a religious place. It was home of government. We have a video. Want to see if the video plays? Ah, there we go. So just walking around Athens there. Shot a little video. You can see a former temple here. Oh, come on, thing. Load the pictures. This was the site of the Roman Agora, which I think is a marketplace, the Agora. So might have been a temple. I could be wrong. There's some graffiti there. There's lots of graffiti in Greece. I'm kind of walking my way up to that mountain there. You can see a temple there in the distance. Really looks like Greece, doesn't it? Just tuck a little temple right in there, you know. It's funny, I think a lot of the plants and stuff, it looks like Italy and it looks like California. But of course the buildings, when you see them, instantly just sing out as, you know, Greek and that you're in Greece. What a thing, huh? This is a temple up on the hill. There's a good view. I got some great photos of here later on at nighttime. A bunch of people and I just sat up there and all had a nice time watching the sunset. There's another classic Greek building there. The long one, you can tell it's important. There's me taking a picture of myself on the hill. I try to do that every once in a while. If you don't travel with other people, you have to just remember to take pictures of yourself. You're the only one who can do it. Here's the incredible crowd of tourists heading up to the Acropolis. We're going to join them. That looks really cool. I didn't get to that. That was far away on a distant hill. And that's Mount Olympus right there, rising up from Athens. This is where the gods lived. And now it looks like they have a communication center or something on top of there. Another shot of that long building. Don't think I got down to that in the valley, but I'm sure it was something. And here's another shot of that temple. You can see the roof is damaged as well. So, as well as all the other white and stone buildings off there in Greece. There's that building again. Looks like Santorini, a small Greek town where it's all white and it's by the seaside. I didn't get to go there, but it's supposed to be nice. So here we are. We're joining the tourists, joining the throng up to the Acropolis. There's a column. You can see just the different colors. That's the new section and the old section. There's better pictures of that. There you go, right there. You can really see the way that they're using the old pieces and the new pieces together to combine to rebuild these buildings, which is going to take longer, but hopefully will be more impressive when they're done. See the steps that have been put in over the old steps. Interesting, huh? New wooden steps, old stone steps. Stone steps will last longer, but you see the wooden steps are reinforced by metal. So new construction materials. There's a Peanuts bag. Charlie Brown. I love Charlie Brown. We're entering the Acropolis. I don't know if this is interesting to anyone. I mean, I'd never been there. Do not touch the marble. The oils from our hands and so on and so forth would break it down and damage it more. As well as, of course, hundreds of years of acid rain and other things have caused it damage. If you look at this section right here, this is where the British removed those tiles. You can still see the broken pieces here. This is where the Parthenon marbles, the Elgin marbles, the guy who stole them, they named them after him. That's where they would have been all the way around. So it's pretty obvious where they would have been and that they're missing. Fortunately, I did get to see the Elgin marbles a couple of times at the British Museum in London. They are beautifully displayed. And interesting irony here at the Museum of the Acropolis, they have a brand new, fantastic museum down the hill a little ways from here. And they took a couple pieces from the original building inside with the plan to restore them. There's one tile that they didn't get. You can see the entire section would be covered with tiles and graphics like this if the British hadn't stole it. But the one tile that the Greeks did bring inside, they said on the thing they'd planned to put it back outside. They couldn't do it. They had to keep it inside. They made a replica for the outside. So it's a pretty common thing. Here you can see some of the ruins around the Acropolis, around the rock. Later on, I'll walk all the way around this mountain to really understand. Here's some of the construction. You can see different tiles being matched up and sorted. It looks like an old rock yard or old construction yard, but you can see it's right there at the Acropolis on the mountain. So this is there's me again. Then this is the hard work they're doing to restore this building. There's a theater. Looks like this is more of a theater falling apart. They have a different theater that looks like it's still in active use. But what a classic Greek theater on the side of the hill there. Actually, in the distance here, this is the new Acropolis Museum. You can see how incredibly modern it is, and as well as the size of the thing. Really great museum. I got to go there a few days later. Also, just like the other ruins that I'd shown you, this museum was built on top of ruins, and they built the museum on stilts, so you can go underneath the museum and still see the ruins. It was very cool. Definitely, if you go to Greece, check out the Acropolis Museum. I almost didn't go because it was new and modern and trendy and all that, but no, I'm glad I went. Fortunately, I was there 10 days, which might have been a little much. I think 7 days or maybe 5 days. But since I had the 10, I got to go to a lot more museums, and I really did it. I went to the Cyclades Museum, these amazing strange figures that they'd found on small islands. They're like megalithic figures, like pre-society, Stonehenge, Gozo type days, Gigantea. So here you can see again, they're reassembling the columns. They're combining the different pieces to there. There's a cannon and some cannonballs from when it was a fort. That's pretty cool. There's a railroad track right there going right up to the Acropolis. This is an original railroad track, not provided by the construction guys, likely used to put goods or maybe military equipment up to the Acropolis. These are the kind of, I mean, maybe you're not interested, but these are the kind of small details that I notice when I go to a building. I really try to see, like right there, there's a, looks like a door or a window panel from a car, a mirror, so they can see behind them out the window, I guess. But yeah, you can see the train tracks go right up to the Acropolis. I don't know that anyone else would ever tell you this, but I think it's super interesting. So there you can go. There's a still probably in use today running some goods up to the track, maybe a little push cart there. or something. So you can see the state of construction, the crane in the background. Maybe not the most romantic shot of the Acropolis, but I was there, is what it is. And if you ignore the cranes, you can still see the majesty of the building. And imagine, there's, again, the friezes are missing. You can see some of the upper friezes were still left, and they look pretty damaged. So once again, the jury's out, but maybe the British protected these items by stealing them. Also up here, the British have the statues that used to go here on the roof. You can see where the roof is missing, and you can see some of the statue right here. There's a horse's head. There's a man. There's like 3 or 4 more statues that go here, and the British have them all. so it goes. And again, also, film is free, so I usually take 2 or 3 shots of everything. It's probably boring you to tears, but there's some more columns and tops of columns from the column yard where they're rebuilding these. You can see that these here are Doric columns. They're not decorative. That's the Doric set. These here on the side, these are Ionic columns. They look like scrolls. They have these 2 circles on the top. And the third kind of column is Corinthian, which means richly decorated. I'll let you know if we catch one of those. But that was, of course, 8th grade English. They taught me that, and it stuck with me. There's 3 kinds of columns. Now you know that. There were some guys working on the building right there. There's me doing some more picture thing. You can see, again, just the old pieces and the new pieces. These columns here were still original and intact. These columns have been rebuilt. All of the white is new plastering. I don't know whether they plan to paint over that or design over that in the future. But as for right now, you can see the real historical truth of how they're building the buildings and how they're rebuilding them. So I think it's interesting. And there's more stone. What a project this must be to try to combine all these pieces together. These are the katydids or catarids, and they're all fakes. These are 4 of them are in the Greek Acropolis Museum. I take pictures of them later. And of course, one of them was stolen by the Brits, and she's in the best shape. So these are all copies that they've left outside to melt. But this is a separate temple specifically for the katydids. It's called the Erection. And you can even see they had some picture. Well, you can't really see it from here, but right here is inside the Acropolis Museum. That's where the real statues are, except for the one the British have. The Caryatids. There are more Ionic columns for you there. The scrolls sticking out on the side. This building's still under construction, just like the rest of the Acropolis. Temple, really neat the way the water and time has worn down those columns above me there. That's a nice little deck there. You can imagine Plato or Socrates coming out of this deck looking at the Greek skyline, greeting the morning, something like that. That's what I was thinking about when I was up there. And again, just the amazing amount of material that they're using to rebuild this. There's some real marble there for you. From the Acropolis, there's some metal pieces holding up stone. So nice mixture of old and new. There's a door still intact. There's the underside of the Acropolis. You can see the damage, maybe mold. But yeah, it was pretty amazing to go there. I was all by myself, so I was taking pictures of myself. But it gave me lots of time to walk around it, to take frequent water breaks. It was crazy hot. It's pretty hot in Greece. It's a lot like California, maybe Nevada. Whenever I see people taking pictures, I always have to take a picture of them. Plus, I love it when they use the iPad as a camera outside. There you can see more of the construction yards, the bulldozers. There's a guy working on the bulldozer. So still under construction, the Parthenon in Greece, the Acropolis. There's me. This is like a panorama shot. Get you the full view, see how many tourists and how much of it is under construction. As with everything, I walked all the way around it, taking pictures of all sides, even trying to get duplicate shots. In case I missed anything, I took pictures of all these cards and signs describing the construction, putting us in the historical period of June 20th, 2019, just last year when I was fortunate enough to go to Greece and to get to see the Acropolis and the Parthenon. So how cool is that, huh? But just wanted to bring you guys inside for Saturday morning. These pictures were exactly from a year ago. There's the lights that they used to light the Parthenon at night. I'm interested in the details, you know. Got to get those. There's a selfie stick right there. You got to get those details. If you don't notice them, no one else will. And here's 3 guys working on the new building, putting in a block right there. It's pretty cool. All the cranes and scaffolding, all the modern gear that they're using. And still, it's going to take years to rebuild this thing. There's the catarids. You can see their faces, what's left of them. These are all copies. One time on Twitter, I did a fun thing where we went and found her, and we found the other pictures, and I put them all together on a thread out there on Twitter, so you can check that out. Look at the details on the top of this roof right here. Look at the special carved pieces right there. That's pretty impressive. Another panorama showing you the entire site. Obviously, a lot of tourists. Most of my pictures, I tried to zoom in and crop them so you can't see the tourists, except for me. So it was fun. It was pretty neat to go to Greece. That's a nice piece there, that white piece in the center. That's probably a new piece, but nice new marble there. Looks good. It looks like I was listening to Thriller. I don't know. And you see more of the damage there. Maybe this black stuff is mold or something. I don't know. You can see it underneath there. And you can see a really good shot of that new marble piece up there, the way they blended it in. And I think we're heading out of the Parthenon, taking some last photos and following the crowd out, probably to go find some water and lunch. You got to pace yourself. What I did while I was in Greece is I would go to a museum or a site in the morning, go try to find lunch, and then I would go inside for the afternoon when it was too hot. So you got to take breaks. There's New York Yankees hat over in Greece. That's a nice little temple out there all by itself, mostly rebuilt. But yeah, you got to take breaks. You got to pace yourself. You can't do 3 museums a day if it's going to be that hot. So I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of Greece and the Acropolis tour, Parthenon up on the hill, and all the tourists. What a fun time we all had together. Actually, I just ignored them and took pictures of the buildings. There's some more marble stairs, real ones. A couple more broken columns. And I think we're exiting the Parthenon, and we're going to exit this show. So there's a couple of lion statues there, decorative pieces, guarding our exit. And we're looking for one more good picture to end on. Here's the Theater of Dionysus. As you can see from all the equipment there, this theater is still in use. You could go see a show or a play or some music here, right there with the Greek backdrop that they could actually use. This was used in plays. You could have people come up here and pop out and do some singing and stuff like that. It was pretty amazing. That's where you put the chorus, right? The Greek chorus that not only sings like a chorus, but would tell you important facts about the play. A great movie to watch about that would be Mighty Aphrodite by Woody Allen. Here's a piece of the bronze foundries. They've covered it up with glass, so you can see it down below. I'm circling the Parthenon now. Look at the foundry. That's really impressive. They have it all covered up. This part, you could go inside and see some of the original pieces that they're reconstructing and combining together here. It's pretty impressive. The tour continues as we circle the mountain. There you can see the base of the fortress that was built up around the Acropolis. Here are some more damaged pieces that they're putting together, or maybe just letting lay for now. But we're looking for one more. Oh, there we go. There's a Corinthian column. So you see all the decorative flourishes, the flowers, and so on. That's a Corinthian column. So that's the third order of column, usually more decorative and more later period. Doric columns like these, undecorated, those are your earliest and probably your most common type of column. Ionic is also very big with the scrolls, and then Corinthian, the last column. Here's a really neat cave that goes underneath the Acropolis. They have a really cool entrance to it. I was really fascinated by this stuff while I was walking around it. Of course, I couldn't get access to it, but still, I got as close as I could. And you can see all the distance out there. There's Greece. St. Mary of the Cave. Various religious groups would inhabit these caves, have rituals and all kinds of other stuff. You can see the white sections are the rebuilt marble, and the brown sections are the original pieces. There's me at the cave. Probably feeling really thirsty at this point, questioning whether it was a good idea to walk around the whole thing. There's a vending machine selling water right there, and there's some dog houses right by the Acropolis. So you can have a doghouse by the Acropolis. How cool is that? Greek flag blowing in the distance. And there's another cave. Very interesting stuff. The rock, the mountain that the thing was built on. Walking all around it, there's just all these little caves and all these little... There's my feet covered with marble dust from the Parthenon. How cool is that? Marble dust. Take only footprints, or take only memories, leave only footprints, right? And all these had like little statues in them. These were all little religious places where people would worship fertility statues and other things. So interesting stuff of the different cultures. Look at the way that rock and those bricks are built together into that mountain. That's pretty cool, huh? More brickwork. Looks almost natural now. A marker, Memphitos Paratos. And there you can see out in the distance, again, all the temples and all the white buildings of Greece. So a weird dark filter there. The Mycenaean fountain here. It's just not going to be a good one to end on. So we're never going to end. There's another cave. Caves of the Acropolis. And I'm just making my way around the mountain. I just wanted to see everything. And I think I did. And if you're sticking with this, you're seeing everything too. So, Gate of the Castle. Ne toi ketapoi. And this is allegedly the prison of Socrates. This might be a good one to end on. This wasn't actually his prison, but they like to say it was, and they gathered me and all the other tourists there. So, allegedly, this is where Socrates was jailed for poisoning the youth of Athens. They later gave him hemlock to drink, and he died. It's not really his prison, but we can pretend it was, because that's what the Greeks do. So I read this cool book there called Self-Knowledge from the School of Life. It is no coincidence that Socrates should have boiled down the entire wisdom of philosophy to one simple command: know yourself. This is a distinctly odd-sounding ambition. Society has no shortage of people and organizations offering to guide us around distant continents, but very few that will help us with the arguably more important task of traveling around the byways of our own minds. Fortunately, however, there are a number of tools and practices that can help us to reach inside our minds and to move us from dangerous vagueness to challenging but redeeming clarity. Check out the School of Life for that excellent book, Self-Knowledge, and right there is the prison of Socrates. At least that's what they say it is. And a good place to end this show. So thanks so much for joining us. We did about an extra half hour at the end of Greek photos. These were from June 20th, 2019 of last year. So exactly a year ago today, I was in Greece. How crazy was that? How fun it was. Checking out the price of Bitcoin, it's still pretty much normal, still pretty much flat. The price of Bitcoin is down 0.66% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 9,282, a high of 9,406, and a low of 9,178. That's $1 for 10,774 Satoshis. Volume is low, but it's a Saturday, with 1,766 Bitcoins changing hands. The market continues to lean margin long, with 80% headed that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 65.73%. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And until next time, bye-bye.